Alright my friends, this is my generator. John Deere 440G. That means nothing, it's a Briggs & Stratton generator made by Coleman with a John Deere sticker on it. So the operator's manual I've got for this one is a Coleman. When I first got it, years and years ago, we were having trouble with the GFIs on the main panel, so I just replaced them all. This branches off of this, so they're all GFI protected. It's got the idle, so that you can turn on the idle, and it runs to drop RPMs when it is not being used. So it's actually what I call a modern old unit. 4,400 watts, 220 volts. And it runs the house except for the dryer and the stove. But you know, the old farmhouses were on a 30 amp service. So you can run everything in the house that's needed to be run. And it runs a pretty clean waveform. I've run the TVs on it. And so I'm just going to take off a few covers and wipe it down a little tiny bit. And we'll see what we got. I'll be right back. Alright, this is the dipstick hole, and on this side you'll see it's throwing oil, and on this side it's doing the same thing right around the oil filler. So I pulled the one off the machine, and this is what I found. I don't use this machine really. The only time I actually run it is to test it twice a year, if I am diligent enough to do that. So I've got one that has a rubber seal on it. That'll be a little bit better off. I think they're the same. And let's look for one more with a seal. Oh, they don't seem to have them with the seals. But they might fit. I might just get something that fits a bit better. Let's try that out. I think the first thing to do is it has fuel, and it was turned off, so I believe I ran it out of gas when I did put it away. So that's always an advantage, right? And I just cleaned off all of the excess oil off of it. Now you can see it looks a little bit nicer down there. It doesn't leak oil, but it does it does sweat. It's like my old truck, you know, it doesn't have a leak, but if you go underneath and put your hand on the oil pan, there'll be a little oil. So I'm going to just cheat and use carburetor spray because it's got the greatest nozzle in the world. And we'll open that choke. We'll close that choke. And this stuff works good on this machine. It's an 8 horsepower flathead, and it's a really hard pull for me. And it could be just because there's a generator attached, you're also turning the generator with the rope pull, right? You're pulling the generator with the rope pull. So I'll just let that sit for a minute. We'll put it on choke and we'll see what we got. It actually does start good if you prime it. Oh, I guess we've got to turn it on. Well, that'll help prime it a bit. Okay, so it works pretty darn good. So what I was doing at the last there was, this is the 30 amp plug that I'm plugged into here. Right, 30 amp, 120 volt. I did measure this. This was 247 volts across here, and this is 30 amps on this plug. And the coolest thing about that is that you'll see, even on this connector that I've made up, it's a 20 amp connector, and I can run my 125 volt welder on there at higher than a regular breaker, which is 15 amps. So like one of these breakers in the shop here, a single one is 15 amps, or this output breaker is 30 amps. So that's very, very handy for carpenters with big saws and stuff that still run 125. So isn't that cool? She runs actually like a champ, eh? Now let's try and start it without the juice, with the air filter on. And then I'm actually ready to put this guy back. Okay, choke. On. Alright, I took the carburetor cover off. 3 bolts, that's all. Pull it off, 3 bolts. And there's the fuel pump right there. I've got 1 bolt out and 1 bolt almost out. You can see that. And that's what's leaking. Now, it might even be able to be repairable, right? You just don't know. But I need slack on the fuel line, so you guys might just have to watch from a minor distance, if that's alright. Forget about that muffler, it gets hot. There should be 3 lines on it, an in and an out and a pulse. I don't want to take the carburetor off to get at it. There's 1 line there, 1 line there, and then 1 line has to go to the carburetor, right? Yeah, let's do it that way. Fuel line plug. Let's take the carburetor off. Good. That's 1. Off the filter. Good. That's okay. And then off the one off the carburetor, and then the pulse line from the engine. And can I get out that one? That would be cool if I could leave all the lines attached, eh? Good. There's an actual impulse line from the crankcase. I've never enjoyed these kinds of fuel pumps, but they do work. I'd rather have a gravity fed line than, and I mean, that should come off. Oh, something came off. Nope, nothing. Good. Alright, now we might be able to repair this fuel pump. This looks an awful lot like the fuel pump that's on a Briggs & Stratton 18 horse twin. So let's just have a look inside. We might even find just a simple chunk of dirt, or you know, isn't that interesting? Sorry, I do that a lot, eh? Talk away and I don't know what the camera's pointing at. So this is the fuel pump. We'll find out why it's leaking. Okay, it's a little stretched. Okay, I'm going to just get this block here. and lay this stuff out as per. Yeah, even the same spring and a protector as the 5 horsepower. Now, do I go off standard and use that little pump I brought in? Here it is. Different mounting holes. Or do I just buy new diaphragms for this pump? Has it got a number on it? Yeah, that diaphragm's pretty toast, eh? I'm going to look it up on the computer and order one. Whoop. I'll do a little close up here. Okay, so that, I'll just put that back in. New goes over like that. So, okay, whoops, where are we? That flapper right there hits against that stud right there. You can see that. And then on the other side, you turn this over. That flapper pump hits against there, right there. But I did not have this pump off. I've owned this generator for 8 years, 9 years, and I've never had it apart. Now, it might come from the factory like that because it works like that, but now I'm going to go online and order just the diaphragm kit for this fuel pump. I did a quick search and just found the fuel pump. It was like $71 US. and I want to use this case because this steel one, the hoses are all in different configurations for the lines. So I'm not going to fool around. I want the same setup. Keep it stock, right? And I'm going to buy the Briggs & Stratton kit. I haven't found it online yet. And when it comes in, I will repair this and we'll do the other side of the repair. Thanks, guys. So this is where we are. Carburetor's hanging. I took the fuel line off the inlet, I took the fuel line off the filter, and I took the fuel line off the pulse, which is right down there. Okay. All right, let's do this fuel pump on the generator. Now we're going to get a tray for this because there's 2 little springs in the kit that bounce around, and if they fall on the garage floor, they will be gone. Okay, here's our kit. I don't even know if you know what? I'm going to use the other tray. Now, it looks like there's 1 spring here, but I know there's 2. I checked it out earlier. So, let's put this here, that there, there, and this one came without the little tiny brass spring. Right here. Woo! I tell you, that thing, believe it or not, I think there's two springs in here. It's getting windy in here. I better close the big door. Okay, I gotta get the spring separated from itself. See, now if that went on the floor, you'd never find it. I'm nervous. They're intertwined with each other. There it is. Look at that. Did you guys get that? I hope you did. I'm just twirling it until it uncoils itself. We're almost there, baby. It's right in the center. Look at that. Anybody who's ever worked with these goes, yeah, I know, man. There we go. Yay. Okay. So now we need to get this put back together exactly the way it came apart. Okay, that goes like that. It goes on there like that. I know that one of these little guys goes on there like that. And then this guy has to go on there with that spring behind the flapper. I'm missing something. There we go. And then one more spring. Oh, it's going to go spring. Right on there. Yep, and then both little flappers get a spring. I wonder if just a little bit of good old human wetness here will help hold that on there. Good. I hope that's it. And then this just goes here like that. That goes on there like that, which goes on like that, which goes on like that. Boy, Joe, I think I've got it. There. Did you guys get that? I'm going to watch the video now. Okay, here's our fuel pump. And I left the tubes on it, the fuel lines, for orientation. So it shoves through like that, right? That one goes underneath the carburetor, and it shoves up, and it should just bolt right in now. It should just bolt right into those two holes right there. Where our carburetor is close, our fuel line to the fuel filter is close. Can you see that one? Maybe, right there. Right there, it's in my hand. And then the fuel line to the impulse is close. So I'm just going to do all those up right after I put the two screws in to hold the fuel pump down. That was cool. I wanted to go to a gravity feed on this soap. There you go. See, I did it again. I am trying to improve my filming. So instead of this, you guys get that. And then that. And that. Okay. I've never liked these pulse. There's a pulse inside the crankcase, eh? A pulse of air, I guess you might call it. And that's what makes these pump. Like they're almost like a chainsaw pump, really. You know those diaphragms in a chainsaw? Very similar. I might have to use fuel line pliers for this. That's what they're for, right? Now, you guys can't see this, but I can. Good, that one's on. And I'm going to tighten up the clamp for it too, if I can. Nothing's easy. Okay, I can show you that one now. Right there. The next one is the fuel pump to the fuel filter. Okay, that one's now on the filter, which is from the top. I'll use this pair of needle nose as a pointer. There's, you see the filter is right. Okay, wrong pointer. Right there is the fuel line for the filter, and that goes through and over to our fuel pump, which is right there. I've only got one left, and that's for the nation. Carburation for the nation. Good. Okay, that sucker should start, but we don't know. We don't know how hard it's going to be to start. So we have to put, oh, that's bolted in good. We can leave that on there. I'm not going to put the choke assembly on until we are sure. Okay, so turn it on. Turn on the fuel. So I really checked this generator out for the height of the fuel tank, because I wanted it to feed gravity instead of through a fuel pump, much more reliably. But the problem is that the bottom part of this tank is lower than the carburetor. Did you see that? So there's the carburetor, and there's the tank. So it wouldn't empty the tank. And that's too bad, eh? So let's just see if we can fire this bad boy up and not have a leak. Choke. Turn it on. Choke. Is there anything else we got to do with this bad boy? I don't think so. Yeah, a little. So I'm just going to pull this a few times. I'm going to lower it. It's a bad angle, eh? And I can see the fuel pump, the fuel filter from here. It's almost like starting a new machine, eh? Is it doing anything? Nothing yet. Or is it? A little bit. Okay, choke right. We're on. I'm going to play with it now and see how we're doing. Thanks for watching this one with me, guys. I know it was different, but I'm happy that that fuel pump works. That's great. Okay, so what you saw there was we adjusted the gap on that electromagnetic guy right there, so that it would run at 2600 RPMs at what they call electronic idle. So if nobody's using a saw or anything like that, the idle drops back to 2600, and when it climbs up, It was originally at 3650, which it sounded a little fast, so I just dropped that by one spring, and it's at 3450 at no load. The load RPM is what actually delegates the frequency, but I don't want this old flathead running higher than 3450. 3600 it says in the book, but it's getting up there in age now. So yes, my hertz frequency on 60 hertz could be down to 59 hertz, but that's not a big deal unless you're running electronic clocks and stuff. There's an argument out there on generator frequencies. But if it's 59, 60, that's great. So let's just back up, put the air cleaner on, and we'll see what it's doing. It's going to go to maximum RPM, which I have now set at 3400. We're going to put it on the load and make sure our voltage still stays at 240. Then voltage with a load. There, it's now operational again. That was driving me crazy. So it all started with when I tried to get it going about a month ago and the fuel pump leaked, eh? But you can't see the fuel pump, it was just dripping down here. Alright, we can clean up. 10 to 5. It's actually not as bad today, so we'll see how long it takes. There we go. There you go, 4 minutes after 5. It's 15 minutes, I guess, eh? Thanks for watching this one with me, guys. Crazy, eh? So I've been meaning to get out that generator and get the idle fixed, and it was dripping fuel out of the fuel pump. It needed some love. Now it's good. I don't know if it has enough miles or enough hours on the oil to change the oil, but it's ready to go.